What's happening, people? I hope you're all well. So, Canelo beats Gennady Golovkin over 12 rounds. And it was a unanimous decision. The scorecards were very close, and perhaps it should have been wider. The problem in this fight, and I said this in the preview video that I made, is that Gennady Golovkin is 40 years old. And I didn't want it to be a shame that this fight hadn't happened sooner. Because if it happened sooner, it may have been more competitive. However, as it turned out, Gennady Golovkin had sufficiently declined as to where Canelo was able to use his physical attributes and technical attributes, and quite clearly the difference in age, to his advantage. And I suspected, or I was thinking along the lines of, what if that happens? It's a shame. It's a real shame, because the second fight, had the third fight followed sooner after, then it could have been a better fight. And I'm just looking at, if I go on to the box rec of, I'm just going to check when the fights were, so if you bear with me. So, the first Gennady Golovkin fight was in 2017. The second Gennady Golovkin fight was in 2018. So had the third one followed, because he went and fought Rocky Fielding at the end of 2018, Canelo. Had Canelo fought Gennady Golovkin at the end of 2018, this could have been a different fight. This could have been a different fight. So that is a shame to me. That is a shame to me. But either way, Gennady Golovkin had sufficiently decreased. His reflexes looked off. His speed looked off. And he just seemed to be a step behind in everything that he was doing. He also, and this is unfortunate, he also looked like, at points in the fight, that he was almost trying to go the distance instead of winning. And that is a shame. You know, it looked like he was prepared to lose on points. A bit like it's Tony Yoka versus Martin Bakole. He was prepared to lose on points, although it looked that way. But it got to around round 8 or 9, and Gennady Golovkin started to up the pace. And interestingly enough, as soon as he started to up the pace, he started to have success. Now, in the earlier rounds in the fight, he just looked like he was happy to get on the back foot, like throw a not even a hard jab, just throw a jab and throw like this really low, like this arm punch, straight right hand. Like, it wasn't like a powerful straight right hand where he was really bending his knees and putting his weight into it. It was like an arm punch, so he'd be throwing like this jab, and he'd be throwing like a straight right hand that was more of an arm punch. And Canelo just looked faster. He looked more dynamic. He's thrown to the body. He caught Golovkin with an overhand right, I believe in the 5th round or something like that. And it just, the work that Canelo was doing was just, it looked night and day. It looked night and day. The difference between those two. And it was a shame, because in the second fight that wasn't the case, and in the first fight that wasn't the case. I really think Gennady Golovkin made an error trying to, or allowing himself to be put on the back foot the way that he did. Now, he was put on the back foot. Maybe that would have happened anyway because of the decline of Gennady Golovkin, but it looked like he was happy to be on the back foot, throwing jabs that weren't that powerful, a bit like Kovalev versus Canelo, and throw this arm punch right hand. So it is what it is at the end of the day. Gennady Golovkin, he stepped on the gas maybe from around the 8th or the 9th round. He started to have success, and Canelo started to get tired. But even when he did that, I don't think he went for it the way that he could have gone for it. Like a fighter who's looking to go out on his shield, he didn't go for it like a fighter that wants to go out on their shield. He did push the issue a little bit, but not enough. But I think he was also mindful of the counter-punching abilities of Canelo, because he would get countered from time to time. So Canelo moves on. The scorecards were perhaps closer than the fight itself. I haven't scored the fight, but it looked quite wide. It looked like Gennady Golovkin was competitive in the last rounds, but in the early rounds it was all Canelo. So I'm going to say that Canelo, you know, there were questions in this fight, because I wondered, how is Canelo going to be after coming off a loss? How is Canelo going to be, you know, potentially, you know, with this vegan diet? When he answered those questions, he looked pretty good in there. It looked typical Canelo, to be honest with you. Gennady Golovkin, you know, was the age a factor in this fight? Absolutely, it was a factor in this fight. And these are questions I had about the fight. The one thing Gennady Golovkin has is power and toughness, the two things he has, even though he's older now. And he didn't utilize that enough to where he was happy to walk through Canelo's punches and get his work off. Knowing that he's got the chin, knowing that he's got the punch power, he could have made something happen. For me, he didn't do it enough. He didn't do it enough, considering it was the last time he was going to face Canelo, and for me, he didn't do it enough. But, you know, he showed toughness. He showed toughness in there. 40 years old, he's still got the toughness to keep going. He never got put down on the floor against Canelo, and he never looked remotely close to being stopped in the fight. So, you know, you got to give Golovkin respect for that. He did seem happy just to sort of resign himself to defeat and go the distance to an extent, but he did push the issue towards the end. So Canelo from here, where does he go? Oh, and the other thing I want to mention very quickly is the before I talk about where Canelo goes next, or Gennady Golovkin, is the fact that another factor that may have played into this fight is the fact that Gennady Golovkin had never fought at 168 before, whereas Canelo has. That may have been an advantage for Canelo in there. Perhaps if Gennady Golovkin had a few fights at 168, or even just one fight at 168, that would have played to his advantage in the fight. But obviously that didn't happen. So it could have been an advantage for Golovkin, actually, because perhaps he's finding it harder to make weight, or it could have been a disadvantage because he's not used to it. So, but either way, that is something that may have been a factor in this fight with regards to being an advantage for Canelo. It could have been an advantage for Golovkin as well, but it was a factor in this fight. The fact that this fight was at 168, I don't think Golovkin's actually fought at 168 before. So where does Canelo go next? I don't think he's going to be at 168. Hasn't he beaten all the top fighters at 168? I don't see him going back down to 160. 175, rematch with Bivol, perhaps. Who else could he fight? I don't think he's going to fight, what's his name? Beterbiev at 170. I can't see that happening unless Beterbiev shows real signs of decline. Maybe punch resistance or something, because that's a dangerous fight. Bivol's a fight where he loses on points, perhaps. But Beterbiev is a fight where he perhaps gets knocked out. And I don't know. Something tells me that people are not going to, you know, Canelo's management team are not going to want to put him in that fight with Beterbiev unless there's clear signs of decline from Beterbiev. So what did you make of the fight? What did you make of the fighters' performances, and where do you think both fighters should go? Let me know. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, hit the notification bell so you get a notification when I make a new video, and I'll see you on the next video.